Welcome to my YouTube page. I am Brian Middledorf, DC, financial advisor, and I'm here with probably my oldest lifelong friend in chiropractic, Dr. Robert Hochstein. I would like to fill you in on how we met and how a relationship has lasted a long time. I'm not going to tell you how old we are, but we met when we were both 17 years old. We were eager to get started in chiropractic colleges, and we took prerequisites together at a college and met in the summer after we graduated high school. We were still not even 18 years old. So I want to introduce to you Dr. Robert Hochstein. I thank you very much for doing this with me.
Good day. It's my pleasure.
I really do appreciate that, and I'm so happy you're doing this because I really feel you have a lot to offer the field and young and older chiropractors at both. So, of course, I'm going to ask you some questions. This is raw. This is unedited. There is no holding back. He's petting his dog. We're watching the football game in the background. So this is totally, really, this is how I have to get his attention. So it's true. But Dr. Bob, and I'm going to call, I want to give you your title because, I can call you Bob. We're great friends. I mean, you were the best man at my wedding. So, Dr. Bob, looking back at your life in chiropractic, how'd you do it? How did you do it? What drove you to do this?
It all starts with purpose. You gotta have a strong purpose of why you're a chiropractor and what you want to achieve. And that being said, you have to have a great plan to achieve it.
So you did have a plan.
Absolutely.
So did you have goals with your plans, and how often did you? I mean, honestly, I know about you. I'm trying to get them. I know you put them up on your mirror. I know you read them every day, but tell what you really did.
I wrote goals with timelines of completion, and I kept them on my bathroom mirror. I kept them in my pocket, and I read them every day 3 or 4 times. And then I made a lot of lists of what I needed to do to achieve those goals. And to this day, I still read my goals every day, and I still.
Now, if I know you correctly, you also wrote them on stickies.
I had them everywhere.
You had them and I wonder if you had. If you ever find any of those stickies around that, and say, "Oh my, wow, I wrote that years ago." But and how practice is not easy. It's very difficult. It's stressful. How do you keep your focus?
That's a good question. Every day I debrief myself, and so in the morning I read my goals. Work my plan, my action steps. At the end of the day, I debriefed on, what I got done, what I didn't get done, what went well, what could have been done better, and then I carried over the goals that weren't complete to the next day.
Super. And you stuck with your plan.
You got to stick to the plan.
Wow. And what do you think was that led to your success that you could tell others to avoid certain obstacles that they may face? There's certain rules that you had. What obstacles could other people who were trying to emulate you that they can avoid?
Well, you know what? It's really important to focus on what your purpose is, right? That's got to be number one, because we're all going to have pains and pleasures as we're doing this. We're all going to have successes and rejections. And when you have a very strong purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, okay, then failure just becomes a stepping stone and not something that's permanent, because we all fail. Every day we fail, and every day we succeed. So you focus on your successes, you try to minimize your failures, and then your purpose has to be the driving force that allows you to jump over any hurdles that come up on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis.
So if I had to ask you this question, giving advice to a new practitioner, and I know it's going to be different than giving advice to a practitioner who's been in 10 or 12 years of practice, what would you tell each one to do?
Well, the new practitioners, you got to have a plan, and and in order to get to where you want to be in the least amount of time, the key is not to reinvent the wheel. There's someone who's already done what you want to do. And I tell people, if you can, if it's a technique you like, if it's a practice you like, the area you like to live as well, go work for those people, okay? And just be a great student and learn what you can, and
emulate them.
And
use them as a mentor. And
I still have many mentors. So I was always in the habit of taking to lunch successful people, and
fantastic.
And some of them are coming over today to watch some football this afternoon.
I can't wait.
They're still my friends over 30 years.
Fantastic. And I know I've asked this question. What's your favorite book and why?
Well, Think and Grow Rich is my favorite book.
Napoleon Hill, of course, classic.
And you got to read it multiple times, and then I reference it, and and I reference it a lot, and I live by it. And you know, my daughter's a chiropractor, and she works with us.
And I hope to interview her at another time.
It'd be
as
great
well.
to interview her.
Absolutely.
She's doing very well.
And you also have another family member.
My nephew and everything else, and we talk about it all the time. We talk about things from Think and Grow Rich because once they've read the book a number of times, and we have conversations that relate to the book, it's a timeless book.
It's past right now. It's still number one bestseller for
amazing.
successful people. And here's my, I'm going to close with this last question here because it's one that you're not going to expect. Where and when did you learn about money, and what experiences did you have from it? Because when I ask this question, most people look at me with a stare of face and go, huh?
Well, you know what? My parents, God rest their souls, wonderful people, and you
Yeah,
knew them,
sure.
And they were great people who did their best, but they didn't have any kind of financial IQ. You know, they either didn't have money to make mistakes with it. When they did have a little bit, they made mistakes with it. So I grew up not knowing. So when I started going to seminars, we started with a gentleman, Greg Stanley from Whitehall Management.
Super.
And he instructed us how to become debt free by chunking down on some of your major debts and then buying tax-free municipal bonds. So we started buying some tax-free municipal bonds, and from there I started buying annuities.
And you chopped down your debt to basically become more financially responsible.
I did.
And you took the ones out of play and you chopped, but it takes time.
It took time.
It doesn't.
But it doesn't mean you can't save at the same time.
Absolutely.
There's nothing like the feeling of having money in the bank. So even if you have $152,000, $300,000 or $400,000 in student loans, and let's say you go ahead and also buy a place to live, and now you may have a few hundred or more in a mortgage. It's always good to take a percentage of your income and invest it and don't touch it. Because before you know it, you'll be practicing. We're at 36 years.
That's right.
So before you know it, you're going to be at 20 years, 30 years, 36 years. And if you forced yourself to save, okay, and you just maybe a little less Starbucks, preparing your own food and bringing it to work and cooking and just taking, whatever it is, okay, and putting it away. When you get to our point in practice, you'll choose if you want to practice or not. There's
It's a great option to have,
There's
isn't
nothing like
it?
having choices.
Absolutely. Dr. Bob, it's been great.
Thank you.
I thank you very much for your
Oh,
time.
always,
I think you've helped a lot of
always my
people.
brother.
Man. I love
Always
you,
my
man.
brother.
I love you, and I
Yep.
thank you very much. God bless.
My pleasure.